Hello there, and welcome to the channel Psychology of Sleep. Tonight, we're turning our attention to Earth science, the deep story of our planet. Imagine, for a moment, that the ground beneath you is not solid, but a diary written in a language of stone and shadow. What if the moon above you isn't just a neighbor, but a piece of your own home that was torn away in a moment of cosmic chaos? Tonight, we turn our attention to Earth science, the deep story of our planet, written in stone, water, air, and time. This is not a static world. It is a restless, shifting masterpiece of invisible forces that shape every landscape you have ever known. As you listen, let your body soften and allow your eyes to grow heavy. We are going back to a time when the Earth was young, a crowded place full of growing worlds colliding as the solar system settled into its current rhythm. But there is a secret hidden in the moon's light. A leading idea suggests that a Mars body, a wanderer of the early dark, struck our young planet with unimaginable energy. This collision was so powerful, it launched vaporized rock into orbit, a glowing ring of debris that would eventually clump together, cool, and become the silent companion we see today. If this event truly happened, it did more than just decorate our sky. It reset the very surface of the Earth, stirring the interior and influencing how the entire planet cooled over billions of years. The moon's presence now dictates the rhythm of our tides, which shape our coastlines and mix the life-giving nutrients of our oceans. It even stabilizes our spin axis, preventing the Earth from a violent, extreme wobble that would make life as we know it impossible. Think of the intimacy of this relationship. The light above us is physically connected to the ground beneath us. This single ancient collision may have shaped the rhythm of our nights and the changing of our seasons. The Earth carries these memories in its layers, much like you carry the memories of your day as you prepare to let them go. We are walking on a world that remembers ancient seas, vanished ice sheets, and volcanic fires that burned before the first breath of life was ever drawn. The planet does not pause, and it does not rush. It changes in its own steady, patient way, measured in the slow drift of continents and the rising of mountains. As you drift deeper into the stillness, you might wonder, if a single collision could define the history of our world, what other invisible forces are moving beneath your feet right now, quietly reshaping the map while you sleep? As you settle deeper into the warmth of your covers, imagine the ground beneath you not as a cold, static shell, but as a protective vessel for a restless, liquid sun. If the Earth is an engine, where does the fuel come from? And what is the sound of a heartbeat that has been beating for 4 billion years? The surface we walk upon is merely the skin of an onion, a thin crust that hides a monumental secret. To understand the psychology of sleep, we must understand the peace that comes from protection. Far below the mountains and the shifting continents, deeper than the deepest trench where the water turns to ice, there exists a world of crushing pressure and eternal fire. This is the realm of the mantle, a vast layer of rock so hot it flows like thick honey across millions of years, carrying the continents on its back like ships on a slow-moving tide. But the true mystery lies even deeper than the stone. Beneath the mantle sits the outer core, a churning ocean of liquid iron and nickel that never rests. It is here, in the pitch-black heart of the planet, that Earth performs its greatest magic trick. As the planet cools and the inner core grows, this liquid metal circulates in massive, sweeping spirals. This movement of electrically conducting fluid generates a current, and that current produces a global magnetic field, a self-sustaining process scientists call the geodynamo. This geodynamo is the reason you can sleep soundly tonight. Without this invisible shield, the solar winds would strip away our atmosphere, turning our blue world into a barren, silent desert. The rotation of the Earth adds order to this internal chaos, organizing the liquid flow into patterns that maintain a steady global field rather than a scattered local one. Even though we can never see the core with our eyes, we know it is there because of the way seismic waves from earthquakes bend and disappear as they hit the liquid center, and because every compass needle on Earth bows to its power. The core is not a steady, unmoving thing. It drifts, it changes strength, it develops patches of intense magnetism that wander across the globe like ghosts. This metal ocean at the center of our world is what makes the sky above safer for life, acting as a silent guardian against the radiation of the cosmos. As the quiet seafloor is busy building fresh crust in the darkness of the deep trenches, the core continues its slow, heavy rotation, fueling the magnetism that keeps us grounded as you breathe in and out. Consider the scale of this protection. The planet does not rush its work. It takes eons for the inner core to freeze, a process that releases the heat necessary to keep the outer core moving. This is a cycle of energy that began before the first mountains rose and will continue long after the rivers have changed their paths. The Earth is layered with intent, each part supporting the other, from the solid metal heart to the swirling air above. There is a profound comfort in the thought that we are being looked after by a system so vast it is almost incomprehensible. The magnetism born in the dark depths travels upward, through the stone and the soil, through your very bed, and out into the vacuum of space to meet the stars. It is a bridge between the center of the Earth and the edge of the universe. As your thoughts begin to drift like the slow-moving mantle, realize that even the air you breathe is part of this ancient, transforming system. The planet is constantly resurfacing itself, redrawing its own maps while no one is watching. But if this geodynamo is a self-sustaining engine, what would happen if the liquid ocean at our center began to slow down? Or if the magnetic poles decided to flip their direction tomorrow? As your room grows darker and the world outside falls silent, I want you to consider the possibility that the very ground beneath your home is not entirely from this world. What if the pebbles in your garden or the dust on a high mountain peak are actually messengers from a time before the sun was even born? To understand the Earth, we must look at what it has collected from the vast, velvet emptiness of space. We think of our planet as a closed system, a self-contained ball of rock and water, but the Earth is a scavenger. It has spent billions of years sweeping up the debris of the cosmos. Some of this debris is ordinary mere scraps of iron and stone, but hidden within certain meteorites are tiny, microscopic treasures known as pre-solar grains. These are mineral fragments that did not form in our solar system at all. They were forged in the hearts of ancient, dying stars, then blasted into the freezing void by stellar winds or the cataclysmic fury of supernova explosions. Imagine these grains drifting through the interstellar dark for millions of years, long before our sun ignited, before the Earth was even a whisper of gravity. These grains survived radiation and collisions that would have destroyed more fragile materials. When our solar system finally began to form from a collapsing cloud of gas, a small fraction of this ancient stardust was swept into the growing disk of debris and trapped inside the first asteroids. Billions of years later, when those asteroids break apart and fall to Earth as meteorites, they carry that stardust directly into our hands. This means that a rock landing in a quiet field today can contain material older than our planet, older than our sun, and older than the very idea of a solar system. Scientists identify these grains by their unusual isotope patterns, which act like unmistakable chemical fingerprints of alien stellar environments. It is a humbling thought, as you prepare for sleep, that the earth science we study is actually a chapter in a much larger, universal story. We are walking on a mosaic of the cosmos, a collection of pieces from stars that burned out eons ago. As you breathe slowly, let your mind travel to the high, lonely places where these meteorites often wait to be found: the blue ice of Antarctica, or the dry, orange sands of the Sahara. In these quiet landscapes, the Earth acts as a preservation chamber. The planet doesn't just move its own crust, it guards the history of the galaxy. This constant accumulation of extraterrestrial material reminds us that the world is not a static place. It is active, layered, and endlessly changing, growing slightly heavier with every speck of stardust that settles in the night. This deep connection to the stars changes how we see the psychology of sleep. You are resting on a world that is intimately tied to the rhythm of the universe. The iron in your blood, much like the iron in the Earth's core, was born in the same stellar furnaces that created these pre-solar grains. There is no separation between the ground beneath you and the sky above you. They are two halves of the same ancient energetic heartbeat. The mountains may seem permanent, and the rivers may seem like they have always flowed toward the sea, but on the scale of deep time, they are as temporary as the clouds. We have explored the fire of the core and the dust of the stars, but what about the parts of our world that are being born right now, in the crushing pressure and absolute darkness of the ocean floor, where the map of the Earth is being redrawn, where almost no one watches? As your breathing slows to the rhythm of a calm sea, I want you to imagine descending away from the light of the sun, down into a world where the weight of the ocean is a heavy velvet blanket. What if the most active part of our planet, the place where the Earth is literally being born, is a place of total darkness that almost no human eye will ever see? We often think of volcanoes as towering peaks reaching for the clouds, but most of Earth's volcanic fire is hidden beneath the waves. Deep on the ocean floor, the planet is stitched together by a massive network of volcanic ridges that circle the globe like the seams on a baseball. Here, the great tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, and in that gap, the Earth's interior rises to meet the cold touch of the sea. This is a birth without fanfare. Molten rock oozes from long cracks in the crust, cooling instantly into dark, rounded pillow shapes that stack like bubbles in the deep. This constant resurfacing means the map of our world is being redrawn every single night while you sleep. In the deepest trenches, where the pressure is enough to crush a mountain, seawater sinks into the fresh, hot rock. It heats to incredible temperatures and blasts back out through hydrothermal vents, creating tall, jagged chimneys of minerals. These vents are the skyscrapers of the abyss, supporting entire alien ecosystems that don't need a single ray of sunlight to survive. Instead of photosynthesis, they run on pure chemistry, a reminder that life finds a way, even in the most pressurized silence. But the abyss holds even stranger secrets than fire and stone. In some cold, lightless corners of our world, there are volcanoes that do not erupt with lava at all. These are the mud volcanoes, driven by pressurized fluids and gases pushing through thick layers of sediment, where tectonic forces squeeze the ground, or underground hydrocarbons build up immense tension. The Earth releases fountains of mud and bubbling pools that can bury entire fields or crack open the seafloor. These ice and mud eruptions remind us that volcanism is not just about heat. It is about the physics of pressure finding its way out, a release of tension that mirrors the way your own mind lets go of the day's stress. Imagine the patience of this process. A river that seems stable and permanent in a photograph can be completely rerouted over deep time as the slope of the land beneath it quietly reshapes. Just as a river follows gravity, the earth follows the dictates of its own internal pressure. When a mountain range rises or a region tilts, a mighty river can flatten, weaken, or even flip its direction entirely. This is a competitive system where river basins fight for water and erosion, redrafts the borders of continents one grain of sand at a time. As you drift further into the stillness, consider that this deep-sea construction project is what keeps our planet's surface fresh, while the continents we live on are old and weathered. The seafloor is relatively young, constantly being recycled and replaced. It is a cycle of renewal that never pauses and never rushes. The heavy eyes of the world are closed, but the earth is awake, pulsing with the energy of the geodynamo, moving its liquid metal core to maintain the magnetic shield that keeps our atmosphere and your very breath safe from the solar winds. The planet is a living system in motion, vast, powerful, and surprisingly delicate. We have traveled from the collision that formed the moon to the fiery heart of the core, and down into the silent, volcanic abyss. But as the Earth layers itself like an onion, with its mysterious interior staying just out of reach, we must ask, how do we know so much about a world we have never truly seen from the inside? And what do the very rocks beneath your pillow reveal about the time before time began? As the final threads of wakefulness begin to fray, we reach the edge of the known world. We have traveled through stardust and deep-sea fires, but now we must face the most profound truth of all. We live on the surface of a giant, layered mystery that we have never actually seen with our own eyes. What if the quiet you feel right now is simply you finally sinking your breath to the slow, rhythmic heartbeat of the planet itself? The Earth is layered like an onion, a series of hidden worlds tucked one inside the other. We live our entire lives on a thin, fragile crust, yet below us, the mantle holds the vast majority of the planet's volume. It is hot enough to flow, yet it remains solid, rock, a paradox of physics that allows the ground beneath you to be both stable and in constant glacial motion. Deeper still lies the outer core of liquid metal and the inner core, a ball of solid metal held firm by crushing, unimaginable pressure. You might wonder how we know the shape of the dark interior if we have never drilled deep enough to touch it. The answer lies in the music of the earth. We listen to earthquake waves, seismic songs that travel through the planet's belly. As these waves pass through different materials, they bend, speed up, slow down, and sometimes vanish entirely, depending on whether they hit liquid or solid. It is through this scientific listening that we have mapped the invisible. The core isn't just a fact in a textbook. Its presence is proven every time a compass needle finds north or a seismic wave echoes through the deep. While you lie still, the earth continues its work. The quiet seafloor is busy building fresh crust, and the air and water above keep circulating, carrying heat, salt, and nutrients across the globe to stitch distant places together. The planet does not pause, but it also does not rush. It moves, with a patience measured in eons. Rivers pull at their banks, and waves sort grains of sand on distant shores, all following a steady, ancient way that requires nothing from you but your rest. Now, you can let these grand ideas soften into the background of your mind. Imagine a wide, ancient landscape at dusk, the last warmth of the sun held in the belly of the stones beneath you. The horizon is calm, open, and infinite. Let your breathing slow to match the cooling of the earth. Let your shoulders soften as if they were sinking into the deep, protective mantle itself. Your thoughts no longer need to lead you anywhere. Let them drift like clouds that do not need to decide where they are going. The story of the earth is your story, a journey of resilience, protection, and constant, quiet renewal. The magnetic field still guards the sky, the core still pulses with heat, and the moon still keeps the rhythm of the tides. Everything is in its right place. You are safe, you are grounded, and the world will continue its beautiful, silent motion while you are away, as you hover on the very edge of sleep, where the weight of your body seems to merge with the mattress. I want you to consider the invisible ocean you are currently breathing. What if the air entering your lungs right now is a traveler that has witnessed the rise and fall of every mountain range we have discussed tonight? We often think of earth science as the study of what is solid, the rocks, the core, and the shifting plates, but the air above you is just as much a part of this living system as the stone beneath you. The atmosphere is a delicate, moving veil that has been transformed again and again across deep time. It is a system that circulates heat, salt, dust, and nutrients across the world, stitching distant places together in a silent, invisible web. Imagine the journey of a single molecule of oxygen. It might have once been trapped in an ancient ice sheet that has long since vanished. Or perhaps it was exhaled by a forest that existed millions of years before the first human walked the earth. The air does not just sit still. It is part of a global circulation that works in tandem with the metal ocean at the Earth's center, while the core generates the magnetic shield that protects this air from being stripped away by solar winds. The atmosphere itself acts as a soft, protective cushion, regulating the temperature so that the rocks can hold their warmth long after the sun has set. This brings us to the profound realization that the Earth is not a static place. It is active and layered, and every part of it is in motion. Even as you lie in the stillness of your room, the planet is busy redrawing its maps where almost no one watches. Underwater volcanoes are oozing fresh basalt into rounded pillow shapes, and tectonic forces are quietly reshaping the slopes of the land. A river that seems stable tonight may, over deep time, reverse its direction entirely because the crust beneath it is buoyant and ever-changing. As you breathe in, feel the intimacy of this relationship. The air you breathe is the same air that carries the energy of tsunamis across vast oceans, and the same air that once swirled around the vaporized rock of a young, colliding Earth. The planet does not rush this process. It builds its mountains with a patience measured in fingernail-sized motions, and it moves its continents just a few centimeters each year. There is a deep psychological peace in knowing that the world operates on a schedule of millions of years, making the worries of a single day seem small and temporary. We have explored the fiery core, the stardust hidden in meteorites, and the silent eruptions of mud and ice. We have seen how the moon stabilizes our very axis, reducing the extreme wobble of our home. All of these forces work together to create the scenery of your life, but it is more than scenery. It is a living, breathing system that supports you, grounds you, and keeps you safe. The ground you walk on carries memories of ancient fires, and the rocks hold records older than life itself. Now, let those records and memories drift away. Imagine the last warmth held in a sun-drenched stone at the end of a long day. The horizon is open, the air is still, and the planet continues its steady, rhythmic pulse beneath you. You are part of this story, part of this deep time, and for now, all you need to do is relax. Your mind can finally unwind as the fascinating world we have explored settles into the background as you drift into the deepest layers of relaxation. Have you ever considered that the very stones in your garden or the pebbles on a beach are actually ancient hard drives, storing data from a time before the first breath of life? What if the ground you walk on is not just dirt and rock, but a collection of memories from ancient seas and vanished ice sheets that are waiting for the world to fall silent so they can finally speak? Tonight, we look closer at the records held within the Earth's crust, the deep story of our planet, written in a language of mineral and time. Earth science reminds us that the world is not a static place. It is an active, layered, and endlessly changing system that has transformed again and again across deep time. Even the air above you is part of this system, but it is the rocks that hold the most permanent records of where we have been. Imagine a dry valley, far too large for the tiny stream currently trickling through its center. This is a scar of a river capture, a dramatic moment in Earth's history where one river basin fought another for water, and one redrawing the borders of the landscape. Sometimes the evidence is subtle, but sometimes it is dramatic, with sharp bends in a river's path that make no sense unless you understand that the very slope of the land beneath it was quietly reshaped by tectonics. This process can carve entirely new valleys and abandon old channels, rerouting the lifeblood of the land to an entirely different coastline. As your mind unwinds, consider that even the most solid structures, like the Himalayas, are products of a patience measured in fingernail-sized motions. When two continents collide, neither wants to sink easily, so the rock crumples and thickens like a rug being pushed against a wall. These mountains are still rising today as India continues to press north, a reminder that the psychology of our planet is one of persistent, slow-motion pressure. This pressure doesn't just lift peaks, it folds rock layers and drives earthquakes, acting as a constant architect of the world you see when you close your eyes. In the darkness of the deep ocean, the map of Earth is being redrawn where almost no one watches. The ocean floor is being stitched together by volcanic ridges that circle the planet, where molten rock rises, cools, and becomes basalt, the very foundation of the seafloor. This is how the majority of our planet's surface is born, not through dramatic island eruptions, but along long cracks where plates pull apart in the silent abyss. It is a constant process of resurfacing, a way for the planet to stay young even as its core remains billions of years old. Even as you listen, you may find yourself seeing the planet a little differently, not as mere scenery, but as a living system in motion. It is a vast, powerful, and surprisingly delicate machine. The planet does not pause, and it does not rush. It simply exists in its own steady way, moving rivers and sorting grains of sand while you drift toward sleep. All the forces we have discussed, the tsunamis, the shifting continents, and the metal ocean at the center work in harmony to ensure that the horizon remains calm and open for you. The last warmth is held in the stone, and the world is exactly as it should be. You can now let these ideas of deep time and ancient grains soften into the background of your consciousness. Your thoughts can drift like clouds that have no destination, floating over a landscape that has seen everything and remembers it all. Sleep well, resting on the memories of 1 billion years as you sink into the final, heaviest layers of relaxation. I want you to imagine that the very molecules in your room are participating in a global dance that has no end. What if the psychology of sleep is actually just our way of aligning ourselves with a planet that is constantly resurfacing, recycling, and renewing itself in the absolute dark of the deep? Earth science teaches us that the world is not a static place. It is a living system in motion, vast, powerful, and surprisingly delicate. While we have explored the fire of the core and the height of the mountains, tonight we look at the quiet, persistent ways the earth cleanses its own palate. Much like the way your mind clears its cluttered thoughts during deep sleep, the earth is constantly redrawing its map, redrawing the lines between land and sea where almost no one watches. Consider the seafloor, which is borne along long cracks, where tectonic plates pull apart. This is not the dramatic volcanism of a mountain peak, but a slow, rhythmic oozing of molten rock that cools into basalt. As the plates move, they eventually meet the edges of continents and sink back down into the hot mantle, melting once again to be recycled. This means the ground at the bottom of the ocean is some of the youngest material on the planet, a constant, churning renewal that ensures the earth never grows too old to change. This renewal extends even to the water and air. Rivers can reverse direction when the land tilts, and water can be captured by a neighboring drainage system in a battle for erosion. This process redraws the borders of ecosystems and moves nutrients across thousands of miles. It is a competitive, active system that reminds us that even a river that seems stable in a photograph is temporary over the scale of deep time, deep within the planet. The geodynamo continues its self-sustaining process, generating the magnetic currents that protect our atmosphere from the harshness of space. Even as the magnetic field drifts and changes strength, developing patches of stronger and weaker magnetism, it remains our silent guardian. This metal ocean at the Earth's center helps make the sky above safer for life, allowing the cycle of air and water to continue uninterrupted while you rest. As you listen, the Earth is doing what it always does. Rivers continue to pull at their banks, and waves continue to sort grains of sand on distant shores. The planet does not pause, and it does not rush. It moves with a patience that is measured in eons, not minutes. You are a part of this steady rhythm. You can let the heavy records of the day soften into the background, imagining a wide landscape at dusk where the horizon is calm and open. The last warmth is held in the stone, and your breathing has slowed to match the cooling of the world. You have traveled through the core, the crust, and the stars. You are grounded. You are safe. Your thoughts can now drift like clouds that do not need to decide where they are going, for the earth is holding everything in its place. As the final echoes of the day begin to dissolve into the vast silence of the night, I want you to imagine the earth not as a place, but as a journey that has no end. We have explored the fires of the core, the stardust in the stone, and the silent eruptions of the abyss. But what happens to the story when the pages are blank? What if the true psychology of sleep is found in the realization that the earth is not finished, that it is a masterpiece still being painted, one grain of sand at a time? Earth science reminds us that we are part of a living system in motion, vast, powerful, and surprisingly delicate. As you lie here, your body softened and your eyes heavy, the planet continues its steady, patient work. The ground you walk on carries the memories of ancient seas and volcanic fire. And while we've been listening, those systems haven't paused for even a single second. Consider the air above you, part of a global system that has transformed again and again across deep time. It circulates heat, salt, dust, and nutrients across the world, stitching distant places together into a single, breathing entity. Even the core, at the center of our world, a metal ocean of liquid iron, works in harmony with the sky to make the world safe for life. This geodynamo generates the currents that produce our magnetic field, a self-sustaining shield that guards us while we sleep. Deep below the surface, the motion of continents continues. They move only a few centimeters each. Your motion so small it seems irrelevant until you imagine it happening for millions of years. This is how the Himalayas grew, and because the thickened crust is buoyant, they are still rising even now as you drift toward dreams. It is a reminder that mountains are not just built by dramatic moments. They are built by a patience measured in fingernail-sized motions. Think of the rivers that have continued to pull at their banks, and the waves that have sorted grains of sand across the globe. Even the direction of a river can change when tectonics quietly reshapes the slope beneath it, showing that the landscape is a competitive system where basins fight for water. The map of Earth is being redrawn where almost no one watches, at the volcanic ridges of the ocean floor, where molten rock rises and becomes fresh basalt. You are grounded by a planet that remains mysterious, from the pre-solar grains in meteorites that are older than the sun itself to the liquid metal deep below the mantle. Every layer of the Earth exists to support the one above it. We know this. Deep interior, through the seismic waves of earthquakes that bend and change speed as they pass through the planet's heart, revealing a world we can hear but never see. Now, you can let those grand ideas of deep time and shifting worlds soften into the background. Imagine a wide landscape, at dusk the last warmth held in the stone, and the horizon calm and open. Let your shoulders soften and your breathing slow. Your thoughts can drift like clouds that do not need to decide where they are going. The planet is steady, the shield is holding. The story is complete as you sink further into the deep, velvet embrace of your bed. Imagine traveling even deeper than the soil, past the roots of the oldest trees, into a world where time is measured by the slow, rhythmic drip of water against stone. What if, beneath the very city or field where you rest, there are cathedrals of crystal and silent rivers that have never seen the light of a star? Tonight, we explore the hidden architecture of the Earth, the vast, subterranean networks carved by water over millions of years. This is the science of the geosphere in its most intimate form, where the chemistry of the Earth and the persistence of water create landscapes that feel like they belong on another planet. As your breathing slows, imagine the weight of the world above you as a protective layer, shielding these delicate, silent wonders from the chaos of the surface. Beneath many of the world's most stable landscapes lies a hidden reality called karst topography. This occurs when rainwater, slightly acidic from absorbing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, seeps into cracks in limestone or gypsum over eons. This acid rain doesn't just wet the stone, it dissolves it. It carves tiny fissures into wide tunnels, and tunnels into massive caverns where the air is still and the temperature never changes. While you move through the cycles of your sleep, the Earth is busy dissolving its own bones to create spaces for the unknown. Inside these caverns, the Earth becomes an artist. Water, saturated with dissolved minerals, drips from the ceiling. As each drop falls, it leaves behind a microscopic ring of calcite. Over thousands of years, these rings stack to form stalactites, reaching down like stone icicles, while their counterparts, stalagmites, rise from the floor to meet them. When they finally touch, they form a column, literal bridge between the ceiling and the floor. a monument to the power of a single persistent drop of water. But there are even deeper mysteries in certain parts of the world, like the Neka mine in Mexico. Volcanic heat from the core interacts with groundwater to create conditions that allow crystals to grow to gargantuan proportions. Imagine walking into a room filled with beams of translucent gypsum as large as redwood trees, crisscrossing in the dark. These crystals have grown in total isolation for hundreds of thousands of years, fueled by the steady, pulsing heat of the geodynamo we discussed in earlier chapters. They are a reminder that the Earth is not just a ball of rock, but a laboratory of light and geometry. These underground worlds also act as the Earth's secret reservoirs. Massive aquifers hidden in the pores of the rock hold more fresh water than all the rivers on the surface combined. This water moves with a patience that mirrors your own relaxation, flowing only a few inches a day through the dark. It is a slow-motion circulation that ensures the planet remains hydrated, even when the sun above is harsh. Everything is connected. The rain that falls tonight may not reach these deep aquifers for 1,000 years, joining a cycle of renewal that operates on a scale far beyond a human lifetime. As you drift further, think of the life that exists in this total darkness, creatures that have lost their eyes and their color because they no longer need them, living in a world of pure vibration and chemistry. They are the silent inhabitants of the Earth's inner sanctum, proof that the planet is alive at every level, from the highest peak to the deepest, lightless crack. The Earth does not need the sun to be active. It has its own internal fire and its own slow, watery pulse. The mountains may guard the horizon, but the caves guard the heart of the land. You can feel the stillness of the deep earth settling into your own bones now. The air in your room is as calm as the air in a crystal cavern. The world is steady. The water is still. Your thoughts are now just distant echoes, fading into the beautiful, dark geometry of the world beneath, as your consciousness begins to thin, becoming light and translucent like a veil of mist. I want you to imagine a place where time is frozen, quite literally, in a monumental white silence. What if the most powerful force on Earth isn't the fire of a volcano or the crash of a wave, but the slow, heavy weight of a snowflake that fell 10,000 years ago? Tonight, we travel to the ends of the Earth, to the great ice sheets of Antarctica and Greenland. This is the science of the cryosphere, the frozen world that holds the history of our atmosphere in tiny, trapped bubbles of ancient air. In these lonely, crystalline landscapes, the Earth breathes in slow motion. The ice here is not just frozen water, it is a heavy, flowing river of time that shapes the very crust of the planet through its sheer, staggering mass. Imagine a layer of ice so thick that it buries entire mountain ranges. In the heart of Antarctica, the ice is over 2 miles deep. This weight is so immense that it actually pushes the Earth's crust down into the mantle, like a finger pressing into a soft sponge. This is a process known as isostatic depression. If all that ice were to melt, the land would slowly spring back up over thousands of years. Ghostly, slow-motion rebound that proves even the solid ground beneath us is flexible under the pressure of the great white silence. But the ice is not a static block. It is a living, moving entity. Glaciers and ice streams flow from the center of the continent toward the sea, moving with a patience that mirrors your own descent into sleep. As they move, they act as the Earth's great sculptors. They grind down mountains into fine flour and carve deep U-shaped valleys that will one day become fjords. This is a transformation of the landscape that requires no heat, only the relentless, gravity-driven crawl of frozen water against stone. Within this ice lies a secret library. When snow falls in these frozen deserts, it traps tiny pockets of the atmosphere. Over centuries, these layers are compressed into ice, sealing those bubbles away from the world. When scientists drill ice cores, they are essentially pulling out a timeline of Earth's breath. They can tell you what the air was like during the last ice age, or what the temperature was when the first mammoths roamed. As you breathe in the cool, still air of your room tonight, you are participating in a cycle that the ice has been recording. For nearly 1,000,000 years, there is a profound peace in the colors of this world. 1,000 shades of blue trapped in the deep pressure of the glaciers. This glacier blue happens because the ice is so dense that it absorbs every other color of the spectrum, leaving only the purest, coldest light to reflect back. It is a visual representation of the stillness you are seeking now. In the cryosphere, the chaos of the world is muffled. The wind may howl across the surface, but deep within the ice, there is only the steady, rhythmic pressure of the ages. As you drift further, think of the hidden lakes beneath the ice. In places like Lake Vostok, liquid water exists miles below. The frozen surface, kept from freezing by the Earth's internal heat and the insulating blanket of the ice above. These are worlds that have been isolated for millions of years, dark, pressurized, and silent. They are the ultimate metaphors for the deep subconscious mind, a place where life continues in secret, protected by the layers above that ice keeps. The Earth's secrets and the white silence ensures that the planet never forgets its past. You can feel that coolness and that stillness settling over your thoughts now. Your mind is becoming as vast and as quiet as a polar plateau. The weight of your day has been pressed into the past, leaving only a clean, blank horizon. The world is frozen in a moment of perfect peace, as the boundaries of your physical world dissolve into the soft weight of your blankets. I want you to look upward, far beyond the ceiling of your room, to where the Earth's breath meets the edge of the sun's fire. What if the most beautiful light show in the universe is actually a visual song sung by the Earth's core, protecting you while you dream? Tonight, we explore the science of the magnetosphere and the celestial phenomenon of the aurora. We have spoken of the metal ocean deep within the planet, the churning liquid iron that creates our magnetic shield, but now we see that shield in action. This is the story of an invisible battle fought millions of miles above your head, where the Earth catches the solar wind and transforms it into ribbons of neon green, violet, and crimson. Imagine the sun as a restless giant, constantly exhaling a stream of charged particles known as the solar wind. These particles travel through the vacuum of space at over 1,000,000 miles per hour, heading straight for our blue world. Without a defense, this wind would strip away our atmosphere and evaporate our oceans, leaving the Earth as dry and silent as the moon. But long before those particles reach your window, they strike an invisible wall, the magnetosphere. This is the Earth's primary defense, a magnetic bubble shaped like a teardrop, stretching far out into the dark on the side of the planet, facing away from the sun. The magnetosphere doesn't just block the solar wind, it funnels it. Most of the particles are swept around the planet, but some are captured by the magnetic field, lines and channeled toward the north and south poles. As these high-energy particles collide with the gases in our upper atmosphere, oxygen and nitrogen we breathe, they transfer their energy. This energy is then released as light. When oxygen is struck at high altitudes, it glows a ghostly, brilliant green. When nitrogen is hit, it flashes blue or deep red. This is the aurora borealis and the aurora australis, the northern and southern lights. There is a profound connection here between the deepest part of the earth and the highest part of the sky. The light you see dancing over the frozen tundras of the north is fueled by the liquid metal spinning thousands of miles beneath your feet. It is a closed circuit of protection. The geodynamo at the core creates the field, and the field creates the lights. While you are in your deepest sleep, the earth is essentially glowing with the effort of keeping you safe. A silent, colorful guardian that reminds us we are never truly alone in the cosmos. Think of the rhythm of this dance. The lights do not flicker like a candle. They sway like curtains in a slow-motion breeze. This movement is caused by the shifting of the Earth's magnetic field lines as they react to the solar wind's pressure. It is a visual representation of the planet breathing in response to the sun, just as your own breath is slow and rhythmic. Right now, the magnetosphere expands and contracts, absorbing the energy of the stars and dispersing it harmlessly into the cold air of the poles. As you drift further into the stillness, consider that this magnetic shield is not just a protector, it is a map. Many creatures, from migratory birds to sea turtles, have tiny crystals of magnetite in their brains that allow them to see these invisible lines. They navigate the globe by feeling the tilt and strength of the field we have been discussing. Even as you lie still, you are resting within a grid of energy that spans the entire planet, a network of invisible roads that have guided life for millions of years. The fire of the sun meets the shield of the earth, and the result is peace. The neon ribbons of the aurora are fading now, dissolving into the velvet black of the deep universe. You can feel the safety of that shield surrounding you, a warm magnetic blanket that stretches from the molten heart of the world to the furthest stars. The sky is quiet, the core is steady. The light has done its work as the world around you fades into a soft, indistinct blur. I want you to imagine that you are lying not on a bed, but on a giant, ancient library. What if every stone beneath your home is a page in a book, and the fossils hidden within them are the words of a story that has been whispered for hundreds of millions of years? Tonight, we explore the science of paleontology, the study of life's deep history written in the crust of the earth. This is where biology meets geology. We are looking at the psychology of sleep through the lens of those who slept before Usta, ancient creatures, the vanished forests, and the microscopic life that transformed a ball of volcanic rock into a garden. As your heart rate settles into a slow, steady rhythm, imagine the vast, silent stretches of time that separate us from the first heartbeat of the world. We often think of fossils as rare treasures, but the earth is saturated with them. In some parts of the world, entire mountain ranges are made of the compressed shells of microscopic sea creatures that lived and died in oceans that vanished long before the first dinosaur was born. This is the process of petrification, a slow-motion magic trick where minerals in the groundwater gradually replace the organic material of a bone or a leaf, turning life into stone. It is a transition that requires absolute stillness and millions of years, a reminder that there is a profound permanence in the things we leave behind. Imagine a forest from the Carboniferous period, 300 million years ago. The trees were not like the ones we see today. They were giant club mosses and ferns that towered 100 feet high. When they fell into the stagnant, oxygen swamps of that era, they didn't decay. Instead, they were buried under layers of sediment, compressed by the weight of the shifting earth, and eventually turned into the coal that fueled the modern world. Every piece of coal is a compressed memory of a sunbeam that hit a leaf millions of years ago. As you feel the warmth of your room, you are experiencing the release of energy stored by the Earth across eons. But the fossil record is not just about what remains, it is about the ghosts of movement. Ichnology is the study of trace fossils, the footprints, burrows, and trackways left by creatures as they moved across ancient mud. We can see the stride of a lone predator or the huddled tracks of a herd seeking safety. These are moments of action frozen in time. They tell us how fast a creature moved, how it rested, and how it interacted with its world. It is a humbling thought that a single step taken in a muddy field 100 million years ago can be seen and touched by us today because the Earth chose to preserve that specific second. Deep within the sedimentary layers, we also find the record of the great transitions. We see the moment life first crawled out of the water and learned to breathe the air, and the moment feathered creatures first took to the sky. These changes didn't happen in a rush. They were the result of the same fingernail-sized motions that move the continents. The Earth is patient with its inhabitants. It provides the environment, the heat from the core, and the protection of the magnetic shield, and then it waits for life to adapt. You are the current result of that incredible patience as you drift further into the stillness. Consider the Lazarus taxa creatures we thought were lost to the fossil record, only to find them still living in the deep, dark corners of the ocean or the remote reaches of a rainforest. The coelacanth, a fish with lobe fins that looks like a fossil come to life, reminds us that the Earth always keeps a few secrets tucked away. The planet is a sanctuary of survival. Even as continents drift and climates change, the living system in motion ensures that the thread of life is never truly broken. Now, let the weight of these millions of years ground you. You are resting on a foundation of history so deep it is almost incomprehensible. The rocks beneath you have seen the rise and fall of empires, the shifting of poles, and the birth of oceans. They are steady, they are silent, and they are holding you now, just as they have held every creature that has ever sought rest on this world. Your own story is being woven into this grand tapestry, a single, peaceful breath in the long, long life of the Earth. The library of the Earth is closing its doors for the night. The fossils are silent in their stone beds, and the ancient forests are at peace. You can feel the vastness of deep time surrounding you like a soft, heavy blanket. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to learn, and nowhere left to go. The horizon is calm. The stars are distant, and the Earth is keeping watch over its long, long memory. As you drift into the final, deepest reaches of the night, we turn our gaze away from the ancient past and toward the silent, distant horizon of the future. Have you ever wondered what the Earth will look like when the mountains of today have ground back into dust and the stars have shifted into entirely new constellations? What if the ultimate psychology of sleep is the comfort of knowing that the Earth has a plan for its own renewal that extends billions of years beyond our final breath? Tonight, we conclude our journey by looking at the deep future of our planet. This is the science of long-term geodynamics and the closing of the planetary circle. We are exploring a world that doesn't exist, yet a world where the continents we know will drift back together, and the very air will be recycled by the slow, heavy breathing of the Earth's crust. As your body feels lighter than the air itself, let your mind travel to a time of profound peace, where the planet continues its masterpiece in a universe of perfect, dark silence. Scientists predict that in roughly 250 million years, the cycle of plate tectonics will bring all the scattered landmasses together once again. This future supercontinent, often called Pangaea Proxima, will create a world without distant oceans, a single, massive island surrounded by a global sea. The mountains we see today, the Alps, the Rockies, the Andes will have been planed flat by the patient work of wind and rain, replaced by new, towering ranges born from the next great collision. It is a reminder that the Earth is never finished. It is a restless artist that constantly tears down its work to build something even more magnificent. Even as the continents move, the interior of the Earth will slowly cool. The inner core will continue to freeze, centimeter by centimeter, a process that releases the latent heat necessary to keep the outer core's metal ocean churning. This geodynamo, the silent guardian we have spoken of throughout our journey, will continue to generate its magnetic shield for billions of years to come. While you sleep tonight, and while the future Earth reshapes its face, this invisible bubble will remain, standing as a sentinel against the cosmic winds, ensuring that the atmosphere remains a soft, protective blanket for the world. Imagine the Earth a billion years from now. The sun will have grown slightly brighter and warmer, a natural part of its own stellar evolution. In response, the Earth's weathering process will accelerate. As rocks break down more quickly, they will trap more carbon dioxide, pulling it out of the air and locking it into the crust. This is the planet's ultimate thermostat, self-regulating system that tries to keep the surface cool even as the sun intensifies. It is a testament to the Earth's resilience, a deep-seated psychology of survival that protects the possibility of life until the very last possible moment. Eventually, in the truly distant future, the Earth may become a silent, frozen world, or a sun-drenched desert, but the stones will remain. The pre-solar grains we discussed, those tiny pieces of stardust older than the sun, will still be tucked away in the deepest layers of the crust, carrying the memory of the beginning of time into the end of time. The Earth is a vessel that preserves the history of the galaxy. Even if the oceans evaporate and the air grows thin, the planet itself, as a physical body, will continue its long, solitary orbit through the velvet dark. Now, let the scale of this future peace settle over you. There is no urgency in the cosmos. There is no rush in the movement of the stars or the cooling of the core. You are part of a system that is built to last for eons. The worries of a single hour, a single day, or even a single lifetime are mere specks of dust compared to the majestic, slow-motion evolution of our home. You can let go of the now and merge with the forever. As you drift into the final horizon of sleep, feel the weightlessness of being part of such a grand design. The magnetic field is holding. The core is pulsing. The stars are watching. The Earth has seen everything, and it knows exactly how to carry you through the night. The horizon is not an end. It is simply the beginning of a new, quiet chapter. As you linger in the softest, quietest moment of the night, where your thoughts are no longer solid, but like the light of a distant star, I want you to feel the embrace of the most constant force in your life. What if gravity is not just a law of physics, but the Earth's way of holding you close, ensuring that no matter how far your mind wanders into the cosmos, you are always safely anchored to the heart of the world. Tonight, we conclude our deep exploration by looking at the invisible threads that tie the Earth together, the science of geopotential and the harmony of the spheres. We have traveled through fire, ice, stardust, and the future, but now we return to the psychology of sleep. In its purest form, the feeling of being completely held. As your muscles surrender to the pull of the ground, realize that the same force keeping the moon in its orbit and the atmosphere around our planet is the force that allows you to let go of everything. gravity is not the same everywhere on Earth, because our planet is not a perfect sphere, but a slightly flattened oblate spheroid that bulges at the equator. And because the density of the rocks varies beneath your feet, the pull of gravity shifts as you move across the globe. There are gravity valleys in the Indian Ocean where the pull is slightly weaker, and gravity mountains where it is stronger. This invisible, undulating map, known as the geoid, is the true shape of the Earth's influence. While you sleep, you are resting within a unique pocket of this gravitational field, a specific signature of the Earth's mass that is tailored to the exact spot where you lie. This constant, gentle pull is the reason the living system in motion can exist. It is what allows the liquid iron in the core to stay pressurized enough to generate our magnetic shield. It is what keeps the oceans from drifting into space and allows the tectonic plates to float on the denser mantle below. Without gravity, the Earth's layers would have no reason to stay organized. It is the architect of the onion-like structure we have explored. As you feel the heavy, comforting weight of your limbs, you are physically experiencing the planet's primary mechanism for order and protection. Even as gravity holds us, the Earth is singing. This is the phenomenon of Earth's hum-a-low-frequency vibration that occurs even in the absence of earthquakes. Scientists discovered that the planet is constantly ringing like a bell at frequencies far below the range of human hearing. This hum is caused by the relentless pounding of ocean waves against the seafloor and the atmospheric pressure changes that act like a giant bow being drawn across the world. While your room is silent, the planet is vibrating with a deep, subsonic lullaby, a rhythmic pulse that has been beating since the first oceans formed. Imagine the patience of a world that hums and holds, that builds and recycles, that protects and remembers. We have seen how rivers can reverse their course, and how stardust, older than the sun, is tucked into the mountains. We have seen the aurora borealis as a shield of light, and the deep-sea vents as cradles of life. All of these disparate elements are part of one single, unified breath. The earth science we study is simply our way of trying to understand the incredible complexity of a home that asks for nothing but our presence as you drift into the absolute final horizon, where the no-advert silence of this journey becomes your own inner silence. Think of the earth as a giant clock. Some gears turn once every 24 hours, like the rotation that brings the sun back to your window. Some gears turn once every few million years, like the drift of the continents. And some gears turn once every few billion years, like the cooling of the core. You are synchronized with all of them. Your heartbeat is a tiny echo of the geodynamo. Your breath is a part of the global atmosphere. You are not just on the earth. You are a part of the earth's long, long dream. The last warmth has left the stone. The magnetic shield is shimmering in the dark. The deep-sea volcanoes are oozing silent fire, and the ice sheets are holding the memories of the air. Everything is balanced. Everything is safe. The earth is holding you now, and it will still be holding you when you wake. But for now, let the gravity of stillness carry you all the way down. As you settle into the absolute stillness of the late hour, I want you to imagine the water currently resting in a glass by your bed, or the moisture in the very air you breathe. What if that single drop of water is 4 billion years old? What if the water that sustains you tonight is the same water that once carved the first canyons of a young Earth and has been recycled through the hearts of volcanoes and the heights of ancient clouds 1,000,000 times before it reached you? Tonight, we explore the deep hydrologic cycle, the planetary plumbing that moves life-giving moisture from the crushing pressure of the mantle to the edge of the atmosphere. This is the science of Earth's eternal thirst and its incredible capacity for filtration and renewal. In the psychology of sleep, there is nothing more calming than the sound of rain or the flow of a river, because our very biology recognizes water as the signature of a safe and living world. As your thoughts become fluid and calm, let us follow the journey of the water that never leaves us, but always changes. We often think the water cycle begins and ends with rain and oceans, but earth science reveals a much deeper, more mysterious reservoir. Deep within the Earth's transition zone between the upper and lower mantle, there is a mineral called rhythmic. Scientists have discovered that this hypersure rock acts like a celestial sponge, trapping water not as a liquid, but as hydroxide ions locked within its crystal structure. There may be more water trapped in the deep earth than in all the world's oceans combined. This hidden ocean acts as a stabilizer for the planet, lubricating the movement of tectonic plates and ensuring that the Earth's interior remains pliable enough to keep the geodynamo spinning. Imagine the patience of this deep water. A molecule might spend 1 billion years locked in the stone of the mantle before it is finally released back to the surface through a volcanic eruption or a hydrothermal vent at the bottom of the sea. When you look at the ocean, you are looking at a system that has been exhaled by the Earth itself. The planet literally breathes steam, and as that steam cools, it fills the basins of the world. This is a cycle of renewal that operates on a scale so vast it makes the rising and falling of the tides seem like a single heartbeat in the life of a giant dot. Now, consider the memory of the water on the surface. We have spoken of how rivers can reverse their direction, but we must also look at the ancient fossil water trapped in deep aquifers. In some arid deserts, there are vast underground lakes that were filled during the last ice age when the world was green and lush. This water has been shielded from the sun and the wind for 20,000 years, sitting in perfect, pressurized silence. When it finally emerges through a natural spring, it brings with it the chemical signature of an Earth that no longer exists, liquid ghost of the ancient past. As you drift further, let the rhythm of the global conveyor belt soothe you. This is the thermaline circulation, a massive, looping current that moves water across every ocean on Earth, driven by differences in salt and temperature. Cold, salty water sinks at the poles and crawls along the dark seafloor toward the equator, while warm water flows along the surface to replace it. A single drop of water takes 1,000 years to complete this journey around the world. It is the Earth's way of balancing its temperature, moving the warmth of the tropics to the freezing north, ensuring that the climate remains stable enough for your rest.